to Newsmakers. I'm your host, Lisa Oligas. We're making another community connection in this edition as we talk with Joplin City leaders about economic development, including a discussion of the 32nd Street Place development that includes the future home of Menards. We begin our discussion with Joplin's Director of Planning, Development, and Neighborhood Services, Troy Bolander, and Joplin City Manager, Nick Edwards. Thank you both for being here today.
You're welcome, Lisa.
This is an exciting time for Joplin. I mean, economic development means growth. Now, we're talking about this 32nd Street Place development. How much property is within this development, which is, developer is Woodsonia?
Yeah, there's several acres involved in this development. It's a rather large development for Joplin. For instance, you're looking at 750,000 square feet. So it's a lot of square footage in this development. Menards itself, you're looking at approximately 265,000 square feet of space, including the store and warehouse.
Wow. So a lot's happening. We know there's construction already underway of some apartments, but news reports have said Woodsonia would be responsible for some of the infrastructure. Tell us what that might include, and is that helpful to the city that they would take on part of that infrastructure?
It definitely is. We could not do this by ourselves as a city, so it's always important to have these public-private partnerships. For instance, in this particular case, it sat vacant for many years, and there's a reason behind that. Some of the environmental issues, former mining problems in that area, flooding problems, homeless camps. Right now they've realigned Hammonds Boulevard. We repaved that facility, put in stormwater detention facilities to mitigate flooding issues. So there's a lot going on out there right now.
Will the city also be helping with infrastructure, Nick?
Certainly, we help coordinate that infrastructure. The new Hammonds was financed through tax increment financing in the Community Improvement District, and it really will add to the development and help traffic flow. These kinds of developments are, as Troy said, a great way to address some blight and encourage investment in the community.
I noticed that there was a new left turn lane added at 32nd Street. What other kinds of changes when it comes to infrastructure can we expect to see? Will there be any impact on range line, or will it all be 32nd and within Hammonds Boulevard?
Actually, there's going to be what we call a looped road or a reverse frontage road. So Menards is actually installing that. It'll be behind 32nd Street, behind those businesses along 32nd Street, and also those businesses along range lines. So you'll be able to get to the traffic signal that comes in the Sam's at 36th Street, and also the new traffic signal at Hammonds Boulevard. So that would make the traffic ingress and egress more efficient.
It certainly makes access,
Oh, definitely,
easier.
definitely.
You mentioned a TIF. So what is the incentive with that TIF, and how long will it be before that is a tax-producing area?
Yeah, TIF is an important tool. Cities all across the state are using that to help development. Essentially, taxes collected within the TIF district will help finance the public improvements that are made for the Menards, the movie theater, for the apartments. I want to be clear that the taxes are being paid. It's just used to finance the project.
So Woodsonia is the development, but they sold some of the property to Menards. Previously, Menards looked at other properties. Can you tell us why this property may have been a good selection for both of them?
Well, I think they finally looked at, even though there was some challenges with the property itself from its former mining history, I think it's along two highways and an interstate. So a lot of visibility, a lot of traffic already. 32nd Street and Range Line is one of our busiest intersections. So you have a lot of potential customers already in that area, and Sam's generates a lot of customers as well. So just the access, you have 32nd Street, which is a highway, Range Line, which is a highway, and I-44, you have an interstate with all good access to this property and visibility.
So what is the timeline for the Menards project?
They've started work now. They have a very aggressive timeline. We're excited to see them make some progress. I think they're going to be a great addition to the community. And the apartments also should be coming online about that time. And so the area is really going to change. And citizens and visitors of Joplin are going to see a noticeable improvement.
Tell us about these apartments, because there seem to be more and more of them going up. How many apartments will be available? How many people do we expect to live in that area?
With this development, there'll be approximately 380 apartments. And if you've been through Joplin, you see a lot of apartment complexes going up right now, and that's because we've had a shortage of apartments for a while, really since the disaster. And then with the 2 medical schools here, there's just such a demand. Our vacancy rate has hovered around 3 or 5% in apartments. And for instance, if you have a 10 to 15% vacancy rate, you have a healthy vacancy rate, healthy apartment.
So we've had a need for this.
We've had a need for a while.
Residential property.
Yeah.
Menards there's been building permits issued for $8.5 million. Can you tell us what all will be entailed in the Menards store in the development? You mentioned kind of a warehouse. What else will be offered in that development there?
Well, most of that is the
store
facility,
itself?
store itself, but you have the warehousing. There's also stormwater detention, parking lot facilities, landscaping. So all those typical things that come with a large development, it really adds up.
How does this impact the old Holiday Inn Hotel? We know that was kind of an eyesore, has been. Is it helpful then, now that we have this development, to make a difference with that? Will that go away?
Certainly, investment leads to more investment, and within the district itself, there's different project areas. And so the old Holiday Inn is in a different project area, but we're hoping to make that active soon and welcome some new hotels and also remove the old Holiday Inn.
Yeah. Environmentally, you mentioned kind of the mining issues. Is there a positive impact when you have a big development, when you have multiple projects in one place? Does it help to clean up an area, the greater area, when you have an overall improvement plan?
Oh, definitely. We could not have done this by ourselves as a city. So you need that private financing to come in and help you with that. But in this particular case, there was some old mining that was occurring, mines on the property, mine shafts, flooding. That's why it sat vacant for so many years, because financially it didn't work out being developed until those environmental issues were taken care of. And to clean it up all at once, it's much cheaper and also creates a bigger synergy for potentially new development as well.
Does the property around there lend itself to even more future growth?
Absolutely, I think so. You know, there's some industrial use to the east, but that's a major corridor for us, and I think development begets more development, and so Joplin's going to have a lot of success, and I think the citizens are going to see some great new additions. Even if they don't shop at a Menards or won't live in the apartments, it's going to help address some of the blight. It's going to make the best use of some of our available property, and it'll certainly improve the look and feel of our community.
I would think it would be also good for the other businesses that are already there. They obviously get a lot of Interstate 44 traffic, but there's been talk and confirmed of a movie theater. You mentioned that. Tell us a little bit about that development and what that promises to bring, the movie theater.
Certainly. One of the things I've heard most when I started the job was it sure would be nice to have a new movie theater. And we're fortunate that Joplin's really attracting a lot of interest. And so we've been working over the last year with the Woodsonia Development Group to put together a plan for a movie theater. That's progressing nicely. Don't have any new news to share, but
well, previously B&B did announce, they issued a press release of their intention
correct, yeah.
to build a very elaborate movie theater. Do you think that changes, I guess, the atmosphere in Joplin and what can be exciting about that whole area down there?
Certainly. Quality of life is so important. Citizens want to be able to enjoy the community that they're in. And so having a theater, someplace to go to watch great movies, it'll be a positive contribution to our community.
Excellent. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, and we'll talk more about the impact of the 32nd Street Place development and the future of economic development in Joplin. We'll be back.
Welcome everyone to Missouri Southern State University, home of the Lions. Missouri Southern is a public university offering more than 100 undergraduate and graduate degree programs specializing in immersive learning, a unique focus on international education, and small class sizes that allow you to develop meaningful connections. Welcome everyone to Missouri Southern State University. This is the College Tour. When it comes to helping students truly understand their chosen career field, Missouri Southern knows there's no substitute for hands-on experiences. That's why the university offers immersive learning experiences designed to put theory into practice. Matthew, a sophomore majoring in criminal justice administration, knows full well the value of these opportunities as he prepares for a career in law enforcement. Tell us more, Matthew.
Hey Alex, my father worked in law enforcement for most of my life, and he also inspired me to serve my community. It took me a while to realize this, but when I did, I just knew I had to go to college. And coming to Missouri Southern State University was one of the best decisions I ever made. Missouri Southern has given me opportunities to make my college experience better than I could have imagined. Project Stay, a program here on campus designed to help first-generation college students, helped me find a path to go to school for free and pursue my degree in criminal justice. The labs in the criminal justice department are designed to teach the practical knowledge and skills we'll need in our careers. From the CSI lab to the firing range, they provide much-needed, hands-on, immersive learning and keep us on the cutting edge when it comes to the criminal justice field. And it's not just the criminal justice department that focuses on immersive experiences. Whether you're taking and testing samples from the biology pond, suiting up to learn about chemical and biological hazards in our environmental health and safety program, or managing a real financial portfolio in the Edward Jones Investment Center, MSSU works to ensure our students can put their skills into practice. I want to apply everything I've learned in my law enforcement studies to help others, hopefully with the U.S. Marshals Service, which has been a dream of mine for a while now. Passing it back to you, Alex.
Welcome back to Newsmakers Community Connections Edition, where we look at economic development in Joplin. We're in conversation with Joplin City Manager Nick Edwards and Joplin's Director of Planning, Development, and Neighborhood Services, Troy Bolander. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Why is it helpful for the city to have an actual developer like Woodsonia when you're, trying to grow the area, rather than the city trying to do it all on its own?
Well, economic development is so important. It does a couple things for us. It creates opportunity, whether that be jobs, careers, but it also helps improve the quality of life, whether that be through new housing opportunities, new shopping or retail opportunities. Both of those things working together can really uplift a community, and we're glad to have that investment. And I think Joplin's really attractive for development right now, and I'm really excited about some of the things that are to come.
Can you expand on, so what is the amount of the investment if we're looking at the whole area that Woodsonia is working on, plus maybe the number of jobs that would come with this?
From what I remember, the Woodsonia development's around $180 million. The project plan includes apartments and obviously the Menards retail store, new movie theaters, and potentially hotels for us at the old Holiday Inn site. So it's doing a lot of great things. It's removing some blight, it's improving an area, and it's going to be a wonderful new attraction for the community.
Are there other businesses that tend to locate near a home improvement building and a store like Menards? Have you looked at sort of the history of where Menards goes, other businesses follow that we might anticipate?
There's many ancillary retail uses that typically, or services that locate next to an anchor tenant, and some of them don't commit until they know that anchor tenant is being built. And that's not unusual for any large development. It happened in our Coles development, whereas the anchor tenant, Academy Sports, that was another large development where they were the anchor tenant. So you'll see restaurants, hopefully, some services, entertainment, because that customer base is there. It's built in. Menards and Sam's in reality are generated those visitors and potential customers.
Yeah, I didn't know if there's any specifically, oh, hey, where Menards goes, these other businesses have followed in the past that we might be kind of hoping would come our way?
Yeah, typically Menards, and they've done it in this case, they reserve 1 or 2 outlots and entice other businesses to come in close to them. Usually you'll see restaurants at those locations. That's
Okay.
what we've seen in other Menards locations.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely creates a synergy.
How do you feel like this will benefit other city development, even down Range Line or in other parts of the city, now that we have maybe more apartments that can add to residential life?
Certainly, I think Menards continues, like many of our existing businesses, to continue to make Joplin a destination, and these kinds of investments only strengthen the community and make us more attractive for more investment. And I often get asked, why another big box, or why another restaurant, but all that works together, and it allows us to leverage and attract new opportunities to the community.
Do we feel like a big store like that also helps service a broader area than just Joplin? Like, will it be a draw to maybe Miami or Southeast Kansas residents maybe coming to our area to shop?
I think so, and I bet the Menards group is definitely counting on that. And it's again another opportunity for us to showcase this wonderful community and be the place where people come and shop and live and play, and it does a lot of great things for us.
Let's talk about the impact it could possibly have on our job market. I mean, is there an impact right now just because of construction in that world?
Certainly, $180 million is going to generate a lot of construction activity and different jobs, and you can drive out to that area now and see a lot of work that's being done, and that benefits the community. The jobs that come online as a result of the development are only going to help those that want to work and be a part of our community. Was
that part of the promise of Woodsonia, is that, hey, we will have job creation? Is that something when you're looking at economic development and planning that, oh, let's count on how many jobs? Do we have a forecast of how many jobs this might bring to our area?
Well, we definitely look at that, especially if we're going to make an investment in the project ourselves. But there's going to be several hundred jobs created, hopefully, from this development. Of course, the labor market is tight right now, as everyone knows. So to get quality workers, you have to pay. I guess that's a good thing, is they're going to be typically paying higher than what we're used to just a few years ago, just to be able to get quality workers. But yeah, that's an important aspect that our sector or metric we look at when we look at investing in these projects.
Do we feel like we have the job pool, the pool of employees for that? I know industries look at that when they're planning to locate in a community. Do we feel like we have a pool of workers? How is our unemployment when it comes to the availability of these jobs? We do, and like you said, it's a market area that we look at, not just Joplin. So you'll typically find some workers commute for these jobs, these job opportunities. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about other areas of town. I mean, we're talking about Joplin's economic development. 32nd Street Place is the newest, maybe the brightest thing happening right now, but there are other parts of the community that could grow as well. We have the industrial park, and downtown has been a project. What do you hope to be happening as part of our economic development?
I'm really excited about the future. The city's had a lot of success in attracting new investment and development. Have to comment on the wonderful new addition that the Kansas City University Medical and Dental School is. That's a phenomenal investment that's going to pay dividends for decades to come. And those are great projects that meet an education need, meet a jobs need. It strengthens an already strong sector for us, and so that's a really important development for the city. Downtown Main Street, I've heard it expresses the culture of our community, and it's just a wonderful place to enjoy the new Cornell Performing Arts Center, restaurants. There's just a lot of vibrant activity happening down there. I'm excited to see what might come of the Union Depot project and the city-owned library that's for sale. I think those two properties will provide nice contributions back to the community. Industrial parks are going to be a challenge for us and something for us to solve. We need to identify future parcels for our industrial park so that we can be a place where we can welcome new opportunities to the community.
I mean, we have some space there, but are you presuming it'll go quickly?
I'm counting on it. I believe in Joplin. I believe in the things that we're doing. Troy has been a great leader for us in helping us have a lot of success in economic development, obviously partnering with the Chamber in downtown. And Joplin's really seeing a lot of interest, and I think we have some things to be excited about.
Troy, what do you think having the KCU population, it's maybe a different kind of, we're getting a different culture of folks, a different age group of folks to the area. How does that impact what kind of businesses that can grow downtown, can grow in the area?
Oh, definitely. It's a different demographic, and you'll look at some businesses that probably would look at Joplin that wouldn't locate here before. These students typically have disposable income. They're probably not like when I was starting out in college, where some of the places you don't want to see where I lived at and had to eat at a place we got 5 tacos for $1. But so yeah, it changes the culture of this area, and we're hoping they stay in Joplin as we include more of these amenities and exciting things city manager has brought, that they stay in Joplin or stay in this area and serve our market area.
There are often growing pains associated with, you know, when you have new development. I mean, you have a new area over there. We've talked a little bit about infrastructure. Are there other things we need to look down the road for the future because of 32nd Street Place and other development that might become a problem later when it comes to whether it's traffic or, you know, utility use? Are those things that we're trying to plan for at the current time?
Yeah, the more people we have, the more businesses we have, the more service we have to provide. And we've got a great city organization, team of employees at the city that are so dedicated to this community. And it starts with police and fire, and as we grow, we're going to need to continue to address the public safety needs so that we're not just having great economic development success, but that we're also a safe community. And I have to give credit to our mayor and council. They've really prioritized economic development and public safety, and I think that that's a good recipe for a thriving Joplin.
So when we have that economic development, will the revenues created, I know it is a TIF district, so some of that is deferred where you actually have extra tax revenue. What is the anticipated tax revenue for this development, and will it make a difference in helping to pay for those services that will be needed?
The TIF statute allows for this financing to occur over 23 years. Fortunately, we've had a lot of success in getting our TIF districts and the financing paid off early, and we expect that trend will continue with this Menards development. And so once the financing reaches its end, those revenues will add to the city's revenue stream and will allow us to do more for the community. Is
there a prediction as to how much revenues these new businesses will generate, Troy?
Typically, it's several $1 million in the end when all is functioning. When you look at the property tax revenue, the sales tax revenue that's coming in.
You talked about paying some off early. Wasn't the Academy, the 17th Street TIF, an example of that?
Yes, the city's had numerous successful TIFs. 1717 Marketplace, there on 17th and Range Line. Obviously, there was the disaster TIF, which was one of the largest in the state, and it performed very well. We've got a great development team. Our finance director's great at forecasting some of this stuff, and so we go into these developments cautious and conservative, and we've had a lot of success utilizing that tax increment financing tool.
Is it important to help people understand how that financing does help infrastructure and does make a difference as to, you know, big projects that the city might not be able to do? You have any other examples that we can explain to folks how TIF financing works for improvement's sake?
Yeah, TIF, you know, there's a misconception that taxes are not being paid in a TIF, and that is not the case. What's forgiven is the new taxes that are generated from the new developments. So none of the taxing jurisdiction are giving up revenues they give up right now. It's just foregoing it until the development is completed and the bonds are paid off. So in the end, it's a win-win for everyone. So school district, from a property tax standpoint, which primarily funds their operations, this is in addition to what they're getting right now, or receiving right now.
Do we foresee a need for any more schools because of this additional residential property and all the apartments?
Well, this specific development, probably not, but as the city community grows, we keep in contact with the school district. Yeah, there may be some situations where you have to expand or build new schools.
All right, so let's look down the road. If you could dream big, what are your hopes for Joplin economic development in the future? Is there some big project you'd like to see happen?
Well, yes. One of the things I've heard is that the city would like to see a grocery store, and so we're working hard on that. And,
One of a certain name that's been.
and I again think maybe we ought to have a conversation next year, and maybe I'll have some exciting news to share. We're seeing a lot of interest in the community, and Joplin is a city that businesses can come and be successful, and I think we're showing that to the nation.
Troy, any big hopes for development? What projects you're ready to put your nose to the grindstone?
There's always hope. Just like the same manager said, we want to continue to create jobs. I mean, that is the secret. And you get these large development projects, it draws interest from other businesses. I'm sure there's some businesses not in Joplin looking at Joplin because Menards announced they're going to locate here. So it's always exciting to see this expansion and new businesses come to Joplin.
It's been true where Walmart locates, other businesses do tend to gravitate to that area. It's a good example.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about when we will see maybe a ribbon cutting. I mean, when would we be having the big reveal in the 32nd Street Place?
The best information I have from the developers and the contractors is the 2023 timeline. Late in 2023, I expect that some of the apartment units will be available for rent. I think Menards would soon be available in 2023 as well, at the early part. You've got to leave room for weather or other unforeseen disasters, but they're working hard out there. You can see changes at the site every day, and so I believe it's only a matter of time.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you both for joining us and telling us all about development in Joplin. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Lisa.
That wraps up this edition of Community Connections on Newsmakers. Thanks to our guests, Nick Edwards and Troy Bolander, and thank you for watching. I'm Lisa Oligas.